In this demo, I'm going to show you how service discovery works. I have here a folder, service discovery. I'm going to create a few resources again. Or let me first show you what's in it. I'm going to use cat, service discovery, first credentials, the secrets. I have a couple of secrets, a username, password, root password, and a database. I'm only using root password and database actually. I'm going to use the root password rather than using a separate username and password because that needs extra setup and I want to keep it as simple as possible for this demo just to show you service discovery. kubectl create, and I'm going to create a pod, and this is going to be my database pod. So I have here a database again. The name is database, container is MySQL 5.7, runs on 3306, specify a root password, a user, and a password, and a database. I also have a service. It's going to expose a node port, a random node port. Kube control create -f service discovery database.yaml and service. Then I have a hello world database.yaml and a service. This one is interesting. It's a deployment. 3 replicas of my Kubernetes demo. I also call it hello world database. It's the same image, but this image also has an index-db.js in the same folder. You might have noticed that when you did the Docker build that there also was an index.db. If we specify command node index-db.js rather than using npm start, which is executing node index.js, I can override this in my YAML file. So I can execute different commands on my image. For us, it's all the same, Node.js port 3000. But then I'm also adding environment variables here. Host, MySQL user, password from the root password, and a database from the secrets, and the key is database. It's going to run index database, and this is going to connect to our database, and it's going to use the host database service. So this will only work if the DNS resolving works, because my database service is called database service. So this value of the MySQL host needs to resolve to the IP address of this service database service. And then my app will be able to connect to the database. Let's try that out. I'm going to do a create of this hello world database.yaml and this hello world database service.yaml. So this service is very generic. It's just going to also expose my hello world DB. Minikube service, hello world DB service, and I just want to know the URL. So it's going to be the URL that I'm going to connect to. Let's first check whether everything is running. So I'm going to get pod. So we have one database, which is just a pod, and then we have 3 pods for deployment. All of them are running. Let's check the logs of this pod to see whether we were able to connect to the database. It says connection to database established. So in Node.js, it was able to connect using these credentials to the database. The only thing that this index-database.js does is it's going to create a table, and there is going to be one column that is going to initialize a value at 0, and every time I'm going to do a hit, it's going to do +1. Just instead of the hello world, it's going to do a +1. So hello world, you are visitor number 1. You are visitor number 2, you are visitor number 3, and so on. So this is stored in a database. So it actually works. This hello world deployment, this pod connects to the database service and inserts data in the database. How can I check this? Well, let me do kube control exec database. I'm going to log into the database. I'm going to execute something on the database, -i, -t, and the command I'm going to execute is MySQL. I'm going to log in as root, and I'm going to give a password. Password is root password. It was defined in the secrets. The database. So show databases. The database is hello world. So I'm going to do use hello world. Show the tables here, and then select star from visits. So this was created by my app. There are 4 records, 4 visits, and this is just a timestamp. So this works. My app was able to discover this service and connect to the database. And this because DNS resolving works, which I could also test by opening a shell on one of the nodes, and I actually need a busy box because I need to do resolvings. So I'm going to do kube control run busybox, and busybox has NSLOOKUP. So with NSLOOKUP, I can then check whether my service works, my service can resolve. So I'm going to do hello world database service. I'm going to lookup, and yes, that works. kubedns answers with hello world database service is at 10.00.52, and this is the full host name. So let me do this NSLOOKUP again, because here we have an overview of our cluster IP addresses. So it will be easier to show you which one is which, because these names are quite confusing. So if I want to find out which is the database service, I can do NSLOOKUP database service. If I want to do a DNS lookup on the service, which is the app layer in our case, then I can do an NSLOOKUP on this one. So I don't have curl here, so I actually need to telnet to this service, and then a get slash gives us you are visitor number 5. So if I just want to connect to the app layer, I can use hello world database service. If I want to connect to the database service, the MySQL, the database, then I can use this host name. And this database service resolves to this IP, and this other service resolves to that IP. And whenever this service would be recreated, DNS would then also be updated. That's it for the DNS discovery. This is also going to be part of our WordPress later on, so I will come back to this. Service discovery is a very important part of running a cluster with lots of services. Control D if you want to exit, and delete pod busybox if you want to delete the busybox. And you obviously have to delete all the running services and pods and deployments.